Cranberry Fields Flower Farm, and I wanted to give you a hydrangea care update. So here it is June, and I'm outside with this beautiful hedgerow of Annabelle Hydrangea. So these are one of my favorite hydrangeas to grow, and a lot of the Flower Tribe members a hydrangea variety that does well in warmer climates. So this is probably one of the best hydrangeas to grow, your smooth hydrangeas, and you can either get the Annabelle hydrangea, which you see in front of you, or the kind of new and improved hydrangea, Annabelle hydrangea. It's called Incredible hydrangea, and those just have like sturdier stems, and it's just kind of like in temperatures that are super hot. And you also don't have to worry about that winter freeze affecting these blooms, because a lot of times I'll grow some hydrangeas that are like my endless summer, and they're the ones that are over here. And what happened was those blooms get put in place in like the fall of last year. And then spring came, I had a lot of little buds, like a lot of little flower buds, and we had a snowstorm at the end of March, and it basically froze off all those beautiful blue blooms that should have been on the plant right now. So the little speck of blue that you're seeing, that was kind of what's left over out of all the blooms that should have been on the plant, because all those blooms came in on that old wood and then they were frozen off. But the nice thing about these smooth hydrangea, the Annabelles and the Incredible, is that these blooms came into place just this spring. So they came from like the base of the plant, and they were put in place after like that March snowstorm. So if you're kind of frustrated because you don't have blooms on your hydrangeas, it's probably a good idea to plant some smooth hydrangeas like these, because they're like no-brainers when it comes down to like the pruning, because you can either prune them back or not prune them back, and either way you're probably going to get loads of blooms like this. So just to give you an example, I didn't prune any of these back at all. I didn't touch the plant. I didn't even deadhead a lot of the flowers off of this hydrangea plant, which I should have, because that's the best practice, to kind of deadhead those blooms off. But what winds up happening is the new blooms just kind of overtake the old blooms. So if you don't have time, or like you're a super busy person but you want to have really beautiful flowers, you might want to put in these smooth hydrangeas. And I want to show you that the hydrangeas at the end of this row, like the last four, you can see at the end, I did prune those back. So those I pruned back down to about, I don't know, maybe about like 2 feet towards like the, I guess it was like the beginning of spring, like the end of winter, beginning of spring. I did prune those back just because I like to experiment as I'm showing you guys some of these tips. And I wanted to show you that I still have blooms there. And so whether you prune them back or not, it doesn't matter. So this is like a real no-brainer if you're new to the hydrangea game. The only thing is these guys don't give you color, like you can't alter the colors. Some of my endless summer, well, all of my endless summer, you can alter the colors from pink to blue and from blue to pink, and they're really, really vibrant. So the only thing is like you don't have that big burst of color, but the white is beautiful, and it makes for a really nice hedgerow. It makes for like a nice privacy factor in your yard. But just know that these blooms do die out, and so do a lot of the leaves. So in the winter months, you won't have that, huge coverage, that huge wall, but they're still really beautiful. And the same thing with my Limelight Hydrangea. The Limelights come in on that new growth, so you don't have to worry about those blooms getting frozen off. And I have a giant Limelight hydrangea in the back. I don't know if you can see it from here. It's not in bloom yet, and you can tell I wasn't able to deadhead those really tall, brown, fluffy spent blooms back, but I did, oh, there's something jumping on that tree right now, but I did wind up pruning off a lot of it. So those are also going to come in as beautiful white, fluffy blooms soon, but I don't have to worry about that winter zap getting all my blooms. So basically this time of year, this is what the blooms look like. And I want to show you a great florist power tip. So when I come out here to use some of these flowers in my arrangements that, we ship nationwide, I will wind up cutting them more in this stage, which is kind of like, I call it like the broccoli stage. So they start off kind of green, and here's another one over here. This one's just starting to open, and they're this beautiful lime green. They're not quite developed yet. So when I cut them at this stage, I'll go down on the stem. I'll make sure that I always leave extra sets of leaves on the plant so it can continue to feed itself. And I'll just plunge this in some water. I always cut my fresh cut flowers in the morning before the flowers are exhausted from the heat, and that gives them extra days of vase life. But when I cut them in this lime green early stage before they poof open, they give me more days of vase life. I found that when I cut my Annabelles, or even my Incredibles, any of the smooth hydrangeas, when I cut them in this beautiful white fluffy stage, I'll put them in the vase, and usually within like 2 or 3 days, they just deflate. So unless I keep cutting like the bottom of the stems to kind of opening up those waterways, they're like a real pain to keep in the vase. So I'll usually, like I said, use them at this stage for the vase life. But then these white blooms are going to turn the same green shade, but they're going to stay fluffy. So it's going to be like this same flower, but in this beautiful green shade towards the end of summer. And that means that this flower head is starting to dry out on the stem. And then they make for like amazing dried cut flowers. So I'll actually like cut this flower when it's green and it's like towards like, I don't know, like August. I'll put this stem in a vase of water, and then it'll wind up actually like drying out in the vase, and I'll have an amazing dried flower from this, hedgerow. And you can imagine like what, say like 20 of these stems look like in like a giant, tremendous arrangement. And then I'll have that dried arrangement for like the entire year. I'll just, move it around to different places in my house, and it actually makes for great holiday gifts. So that's like just a quick little power tip. So basically, these are super easy to grow. Once they get established, when you first put them in the ground, you want to make sure that you keep up with the water. You want to make sure that the soil is moist but not soaking wet, because no hydrangeas like to have soggy feet. But once they get established after a year or two, there's basically like no maintenance. Like I said, I hardly ever come back here and prune them back. I don't even have a drip line system on them now. When they were first put in, I did have a drip line system. I made sure that they were getting that moisture, that the plant did not dry out. But after that, I kind of removed the drip line. And another really great part about this plant is that they self-propagate all by themselves. So I think I started out with like maybe 10 plants back here, maybe 12 plants about 15 years ago. And now I think I have about, I don't know, maybe 50 or 60, because these branches, I'll show you what they do. They kind of bend to the ground and they start forming new plants all on their own. And I made you guys a boatload of video showing you how to speed up this process if you're like interested in like helping to propagate this plant on your own. I made you a whole bunch of videos, or in my hydrangea playlist. I think I have 50 hydrangeacare videos there, and it shows you how to speed up this process in case you wanted to kind of play around with hydrangea propagation. So it's super easy. I'll kind of show you how it works here. This is how Mother Nature does it. Some of these stems get super heavy, and they start bending towards the ground. And when, especially like these green, fresh branches wind up like falling like in the dirt, they wind up rooting all by themselves. And so they'll wind up like falling into the dirt, and they kind of get like weighed down by some of these heavy branches. And then eventually they just start sprouting new plants all on their own. And I'm gonna show you underneath what I mean here. So let me see if I can dig down here really big. Sorry, I'm like in the middle of this. So this is like a brand new plant right here. So let me get rid of this leaf. This is the mama plant right back here. And you can tell there's all little baby plants all around it that basically self-propagated. I'm sorry if I'm giving you a headache right now. I know that I'm kind of wobbly. So here's the mama plant here, but this plant self-propagated itself over here, back here. And so there's like 5 new plants that are coming from this mama plant, and it did it all by itself. And I give you like really easy steps to follow in case you want to do these steps on your own and kind of speed up the process. So that's what these look like right now. And I wanted to show you 2 other really fun things that I've been kind of playing with. So the first one are these peonies. We're coming out of peony season right now, but I made you guys a whole bunch of peony care videos, but I wanted to show you something really cool. So these peonies I cut from the flower farm about 4 weeks ago. And I did something called the dry cut method, which basically means that I took the stem, I cut it from the plant, and I did not submerge this stem in water back then. I left it dry. And I put it in a little bit of just like craft paper, and I stored the dry stems in my refrigerator. And then 4 weeks later, I took them out, and then I did cut the bottom. I cut like 1 inch or 2 off the bottom, and then I plunged them in water. And well, this is kind of falling apart now, but that's okay. So I plunged them in water, and then they started to open up. And I have to tell you that this phase of flowers, I did the dry cut method, and then I plunged them into water like 4 weeks later, and I put them in this vase about 12 days ago. And I still have blooms, which is kind of ridiculous because peonies usually only last like, I don't know, maybe like 5 days in a vase if you're lucky. But what happens is I keep coming in here and cutting out the blooms that are faded. So like this one's had it, it's all brown. But if you notice, like the side shoots are still opening up. So this is like a great Florist Power trick for your peonies too. So as your peonies are opening up, cut out the ones that are faded, and then you're going to allow the new ones to strut their stuff. So here we are 12 days later, and I still have beautiful, beautiful flowers that are blooming, you know, from this little bouquet. So, I mean, this was like really, really closed up like this when it first came into the vase, and now it's opening up 12 days later. So I make sure that I keep it away from heat because peonies do not like to be by the heat. You know, they'll kind of, you know, like fade super fast, and I keep them away from direct sunlight. So keep your peonies away from your windows. And I want to show you one more fun thing. I've been doing a lot of propagating with my basil. So check out these beautiful roots. So this was just one of my basil stems. It looked like this when I cut it from my plant. You know, I just bought like a basil plant from, I think, ShopRite. I have it next to my sink. And what I do is I just remove the leaves from the bottom. I just use my nail. You know, I'll kind of just do this. I'll remove like, I don't know, maybe like 2 sets of leaves from the bottom of the plant. I make sure that I leave a few leaves on top. And then what I do after I remove like 2 sets of those leaves, I'll give it like a little scrape. Just a little scrape of the stem, especially where those leaf nodes were, because that's where a lot of the roots like to come from. So I give it like a little bit of a scrape with my nail, and then I just plunge it in water. And I leave it on my kitchen sink. And then within, I got some peony blooms in here. Within a few weeks, I wound up getting these beautiful, beautiful roots. And I'm gonna wind up putting this new, you know, like basil plant in my garden. So you can have like a continual, like all summer long, you know, burst of basil leaves in your garden if you just like buy one plant and then you keep propagating it. You keep, you know, doing this like water propagation, and then you just plant it in the soil. But just make sure that you don't plant this in direct sun. From what I've seen from the Flower Tribe's comments, it seems like you're better off planting this once the roots get to be the size. Plant it in like a little pot in some soil, and maybe like keep it indoors or in like semi sun, because somehow the sun might be too much for like this young plant to kind of, you know, take off on its own. So maybe put it in the soil, leave it in the house, let it get established in the soil, and then you can transplant it in your garden after a couple weeks after it's like really happy in that soil. But I just want to show you like a real close-up of these roots. I mean, is that beautiful? I'm always amazed by that. I mean, Mother Nature is absolutely amazing. And so that's it for today, guys. Wanted to give you some quick tips. Give me a thumbs up if you found this helpful. And please let me know where you're viewing this from in this great, big, beautiful world. I love to see how our flower tribe is growing around the globe each week. And please also check out my Cranberry Field Instagram page and my brand new podcast. And all those are in links below. And please let me know if you have any hydrangea questions. I'll see if I could take a couple now. If anybody has some hydrangea questions that you're kind of struggling with, I'd love to help you. I'll be here for a couple more minutes. So, what are you guys up to today? What is going on? I'm trying to come up with some of those hydrangea questions that I've seen coming in. Some people wanted to know about those brown sticks that are popping out of some of their hydrangeas. Now is a good time to kind of, you know, cut them out. Just make sure that they're like white, because if you got some of those brown sticks that are coming out of your hydrangea, it means that the stem is probably dead. Oh, you're very welcome. Oh, thanks for checking in from the Jersey Shore, Copacus 1. Which part are you from? A lot of times we used to go down to Asbury Park and Ocean Grove. Super, super fun. Maybe we'll go down there in a couple weeks. Some other hydrangea questions were like, what are some of my favorite varieties? I love Endless Summer. I love Incredible. Trixie, I transplanted a new hydrangea during the heat wave. Well, I lost your comment. Hold on, I'm trying to pull it back. Wait. Let me see how to do this. Lost it, sorry. Hey, Missouri. Oh, Seagirt. Hey, Alabama. How are you, Joy? I'm sorry, whoever put that last question up, can you get it back? I didn't read it fast enough, and I wasn't able to. I got to figure out how to be able to read these better. Let's see. Lost it. I'll show you some of these hydrangeas back in me again. We transplanted these. So we transplanted these from another part in our garden. Hey, Lexington, Kentucky. How are you, Wanda? So we transplanted these in fall. If you do want to transplant your hydrangeas, I would recommend doing them in fall or early spring when the plant is kind of dormant. But if you do it in fall, make sure that you do it with at least 6 weeks before the first frost so that the plant gets a chance to get established. But we moved like, I don't know, like 10 of these last year, and they're doing really great. If that snowstorm didn't zap off all those first blooms, it would have been doing spectacular right now. And I made you a video showing you how I did cover some of my other hydrangeas. How long do the blooms last on endless summer? Oh, that's a great question, Lenora. So the first set of blooms that come in on the endless summer usually last for a few weeks. So I'd say, I don't know, I think my hydrangeas that are in full bloom, and I'll show you that another day, last for a really long time. And then, oh, it was me. Okay, hold on, let me see what this question is. Transplant new hydrangea during the last heat wave. No, I lost it again. I'm sorry. So I saw there was a heat wave, but then I lost the rest of it. It just escaped me too fast. Anyway, the endless summer blooms will last about 3 or 4 weeks, and then I'll wind up getting a new flush of flowers from the base of the plant that will come in towards the end of summer, and those will last another like 3 or 4 weeks. So that's one of the reasons why I like these rebloomers. And Proven Winners has a great series called Let's Dance, and I have a load of their blue jangles coming up, and they're also rebloomers. We're moving. May we take cuttings with us? Yes, I would definitely take cuttings, but I'll show you even a better idea to do. Hold on, let me come over here. I hope I don't lose you guys. I'm going to walk really slow because I want to show you a layering propagation that I did. And this is your better chance. This is the better chance of your hydrangeas making it if you're moving and you want to take your plant with you. You're basically going to do what I showed you before, where that stem is kind of lowered into the ground. And then you're just going to put a little rock on it. But the first thing you're going to do is put it in a pot. And I have a video showing you how to do this. If you look at my hydrangea playlist, it shows you how to do the pot layering method. And this is what it looks like. Oh, good. I'm so glad I didn't lose you guys just now. I took just a stem that was from the mother plant, which is like right here. And this is actually like just like a garden pot. It's actually buried in the soil right now. And I just took some potting soil. I filled this pot with soil. I bent the stem so that it's now in the potting soil. I scratched it just a little bit, I did like that little scratchy scratch that I showed you with the basil, and then I put a rock on top. And now I'm gonna have a brand new hydrangea plant because those roots are gonna start to come from that stem, just like it did with the basil. And then after about, I don't know, probably about 8 or 9 weeks, I'm gonna have some beautiful, beautiful roots in there. And I would even, if the longer you can wait, the better. If you can wait like 12 weeks, that would be awesome. 8 weeks, you'll wind up having some roots there. And at that point, like the longer you can wait, the better. And then you could just kind of cut it from the mother plant, and you can pick the pot up, and you could bring your hydrangea with you. So that's the best bet. Yeah. So, and that will totally work. And I have the same thing going on down here. You're welcome, James. And I have like a layering propagation here where I didn't do it in the pot, I just did it right in the ground, but I'm gonna have a brand new plant right here, and then I can sever it. Okay, by the way, oh, black spots. I see people are getting black spots. That's okay. I'm getting the black spots too, and that's just because we had a lot of rain here. Usually it's not that big of a deal. I kind of just try to remove those leaves unless it's covering the entire plant, because you always want to leave leaves on the plant. But when you get those black spots, a lot of times it's just because there was a lot of rain. And then a question from Oklahoma. Oklahoma evils are super, super, super sturdy. So I think you're okay. Hey, Iowa, new hydrangea planted last year. Most of it did not come back this year, but small greens. Yeah, so here's the thing. New hydrangeas take like 2 or 3 years to get established. So as long as you're seeing that green, that's awesome. Oh, I see Z. I see you guys lost me. Am I back? Let me know if you're always like my main go-to person when it comes to communication on this. So let me know if you guys got me back. But yeah, so Annabelle, those are like really, really easy ones to grow, even if you're in Oklahoma. And if you have those brand new hydrangeas, then just give them like a few years to get established. But as long as you're seeing a little bit of green, that's usually a really good sign. So sometimes, like I said, they'll take like 2 or 3 years to actually give you blooms. And okay, guys, well, listen, have a great weekend, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks so much for showing up today. I appreciate all of you. Oh, thanks, Z. I'm good now. Okay, I'm good now as I'm saying goodbye. Listen, have a great weekend. I appreciate all you guys. Okay, Denise, take care. Thanks, Lenora. I appreciate that, Lenora Weaver. I love when you guys give me your little comments. All right, I'll see you soon. Bye, guys. Oh, and check out my brand new flower courses. Those are also